Hey beauty bees, and welcome back to another Breeze Beauty Corner Presents. In this video I will be showing you all how I laid my 24-inch water wave hair from Georgia's hair collection in my head, and I'll also show you all from beginning to end on how I customized it and achieved this look. So if you want to learn more, then stay tuned. So first off, I'm starting with my wig cap, and I'm just showing you all how I achieved the look. And now I'm just spraying on my Got To Be Glued spray, not to get confused with Gorilla Glue. And I'm just working that into my hair. And as you can see, my hairline is kind of low on the sides, so I'm just making sure that I can see that, so that when I do go to blow dry it and I do go to customize it, that I don't cut too far back on those sides. So now I'm just blow drying my hair and letting that sit. So after I finish blow drying, I'm going to go in with my Bold Hold active glue, and I found this in my local beauty supply store for about $20. So I'm just going to line that with my hairline and use my comb to kind of work that in a little bit, so that when I do go to blow dry, it doesn't take forever to kind of dry. And I usually do about 2 coats of this on the wig cap before I go to blow dry, just to make sure that my wig cap doesn't move and it stays in place. So I'm just going back over that and using my comb once more to make sure that that glue dries when I use the blow dryer. So now that I have those 2 coats worked in, I'm going to go in with my blow dryer and try to blow dry that to be completely clear. So once I get it to my desired dry look, I'm going to take my razor and I'm going to kind of work my way towards that area where I put the glue at and try to cut as close to it as possible. And as you can see, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not cutting too close towards my hairline, while still making sure that those side ends that I have, that are pretty low, are still covered when I do put on my lace front. My biggest concerns really lie whenever I put on my lace front and I can actually see my real hair. So I've been trying to get better at this, and so you'll see me continue to go back and make sure that I don't have too much of my real hair showing, but also making sure that when I do put on my lace front, it's not showing under the lace. So now I've completely cut the lace, and I just used my Ruby Kisses in shade RDF13 to kind of blend my cap to match my skin complexion. And I also did that on my unit to make sure that it is a seamless look. So now I'm going to go back in with my Bold Hold Active and use that around my hairline. And for the first coat, I try to miss my natural hair, as you can see on the sides, because I don't want that to kind of be adhesive to my hair, because when I go to take it off, I don't want to have to deal with pulling out my edges at all. So I kind of skip that portion and go towards the back, and then work my way throughout the other sides of the hair. So then I'm just going back in with my blow dryer and blowing that part dry. And as you can see, I kind of sewed the cap to my head, and that's optional. You don't necessarily have to do this step, but I did it to make sure that the cap wouldn't move under my unit. So you're going to see me do this step about 3 to 4 more times because I would like to make sure that my adhesive is really tacky for my lace unit. And the more that you do this step, the more that you'll see the glue dried and the residue. But don't worry about that because once you're able to lay your lace, you won't be able to see that under your lace, and it'll serve as a adhesive reactivator once heat is applied. So it's actually good to have that residue there. So like I said, don't worry about that until after the end. So after I finished putting on my 3 to 4 coats, I'm going to now try to lay my lace, and I'm just measuring that on my forehead before I lay it completely down because I like to make sure that my hairline is as close to the beginning of where I cut my wig cap as possible to avoid having that being shown throughout the lace. And also I have a random tear, so don't worry about that. It's just from me blow drying and it being in my face the entire time. So now I'm just measuring out where the top of my ear is so that I can cut off that excess lace and clipping it out of the way so when I do cut, it doesn't get confused with that portion I'm cutting off. And this method is super easy. I go from the bottom of the front of the lace and just do like a curved method towards the back. And I do the same thing on the other side. Now for me, the left side is kind of tricky, so it took me a couple tries to get that completely off, but I was able to finally get that look that I was going for and proceed to the next step. So don't worry if you struggle with, if you're right-handed or left-handed and you struggle with the opposite side, just continue to work at it until you're able to really see the results that you want. So finally, I'm going to take my bold hold and put a little bit more glue on there just to reactivate the glue that I already applied. And this will be the final coat that I'm placing. And as you can see, I kind of got it on the lace, but I was just going to work my way through to kind of like clean that up. But eventually it will dry into the unit and dry into the wig cap so that I don't have to worry about seeing it in my style. So for the final glue step, I don't like to make sure that it's completely dry because I like to make sure that when I blow dry, I'm able to completely tack it on the wig cap. So I'm just using that blow dryer to dry it down completely as I press my unit towards my wig cap. And I'm making sure that all the excess glue is dried and is completely clear while still pressing my unit against my scalp. And once I finish that, I'm going to use my Got To Be Insta Hold spray that I found on Amazon that really works very good. So I'm just spraying that around my hairline, and then I'm going to use my elastic band to lay that. So after I place my elastic band, I'm going to go in with my blow dryer just to make sure that that style is completely dried into place, and I don't have to worry about my unit lifting or moving or doing anything else. And the heat works as a reactivator, so regardless of how much product you use, if you just go back in with heat, it's going to reactivate the glue and whatever spray that you use, so keep that in mind. Next, I'm just going to sew on my wig just to make sure that I have complete control over it moving. And the method that I use is basically taking my needle from left to right and making sure that it goes through the middle as kind of like an extra security purpose to make sure that it doesn't move or it doesn't loosen or anything, just to make sure that that thread is as durable as possible. So I'm just going to continue on until I get to the other side of my head. I also sewed around my perimeter, but I did that off camera just because of time, and my camera had went out and I didn't realize it. But if you prefer to just do it down the middle, that'll work as well. But I like that extra security feel, so I do the perimeter and through the middle. But it's totally up to your preference. So after I finish sewing that, I'm going to cut enough thread off just so that I can tie it in 3 knots to make sure that that thread doesn't loosen or it doesn't unravel throughout my style. And then I'll cut off that excess thread. So after that's complete, I'm gonna take off my elastic band. And as you can see, my unit is laid to my head, but I'm just trying to work out the excess products and make sure that I don't have any glue showing. Make sure that that is as seamless as possible right before I go to cut the lace. And I'm just making sure that that portion is dry because I thought I saw a little bit more glue. So I'm just going back in with my blow dryer to make sure that everything is as dry as possible. So next I'm going to use my razor again, and I'm just going to cut as close to my hairline as possible, making sure that I go in slow motions because once you cut that lace, it's a wrap. So I try to make sure that as I'm cutting, I'm making sure to look to make sure that it's not too close to the actual hairline of the unit, as well as making sure that it's still covering my hairline and where I place my wig cap. So this part can be a little tedious, but you want to make sure that you're taking your time because like I said, once you cut that lace, it's a wrap. Next, I'm just taking a pair of scissors to cut off the excess lace that I see that wasn't cut with the razor. And this serves as a purpose to make sure that when I do lay the edges of my unit down, that it is as seamless as possible and as close to the hairline as possible. So next I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, working my way down and making sure that I'm also as close to the hairline as possible. And just like I did on the other side, I'm going to take my scissors and just kind of clean up the excess lace that I wasn't able to cut with the razor with my scissors, and make sure that both sides are kind of like even and they both resemble one another. So after that, I'm going to take my Insta Hold spray again and use that on the edges that are kind of like lifted, and use my blow dryer to make sure that it's completely tacked down to my hairline and my edges to make sure that that style is effortless and it looks like it's growing from my head. And to really blend this out, I'm going to go back in with my Ruby Kisses in my shade RDF 13 and just place that on the edges just to make sure that when I do lay my baby hairs, it'll look like scalp. So next I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna part out my baby hairs, and this unit from Georgia's hair collection is pre-plucked, so I don't have to do too much plucking, but I do a little bit more to my preference, so you'll see that throughout this process. But I'm just pre-parting the portion in which I want to have my baby hairs and brushing back the part that I don't want. And I'm using my She Is Bomb wax stick to kind of make sure that the remainder hair that I push back won't get in the way of me styling. And I'm going to do the same thing by pre-parting the other section or the other side of the hair to make sure that both sides have a decent amount of baby hairs and they are laid and look as natural as possible. And to really get the sleek look that I want, I'm going to go in with my comb straightener, and this is by Red. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm laying that wax stick that I applied down with my comb. And as you can see, it's starting to come together. And next, I'm going to go in with my tweezers and just tweeze out the excess hair that I pulled from the hairline. And it may look like I'm going fast in the video just for time purposes, but I like to take my time when doing this because you don't want to tweeze too much. And sometimes I like to go like behind the hairline just to make sure that when I do pull the hair back, that hairline still looks sparse and it's not like a blunt hairline. So I'm just taking some of the hair out from the back by using that backwards method, as well as pulling some of the hair out from the baby hairs that I already pre-parted. So afterwards, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side and just pluck out as much of the excess hair in the hairline as possible, because I kind of like a sparse hairline. So I'm just making sure that hairline is as natural as possible. And just like I did on the other side, I'm just plucking out, going in a backwards motion of the hairline. Then I'm just going to take my scissors to cut those baby hairs in the desired length that I want them. And I kind of like to do a downward cut on the sides because I like some excess baby hairs on my sides. And then I'm just going to use my Lotta Body foam mousse to kind of sculpt my baby hairs, and use my edge brush to get that desired look. After I finish laying my baby hairs, I'm just going to tie them up with my satin scarf. And after I let that sit for a while, these are the results. So to get a sleek part, I'm going to use the tip of, or the edge of my comb, and use my Kiss spray in shade Black, and kind of create a deeper part on my head. And then use my concealer by Ruby Kisses to make sure that part looks as seamless as possible. And next, my favorite part, which is spraying the hair. I love a dry look, but I also love a good wet look. So I wanted to see just how juicy these curls could get. So I'm just spraying the hair, seeing the wave pattern, and making sure that the hair is fully saturated. And as y'all can see, these curls are so beautiful. And I'm just going to do the same thing to the other side, making sure that the hair is fully saturated. And I use a mixture of water and conditioner just to make sure that their hair is conditioned as possible. And I'm just working that through, making sure that the water is completely on all portions of the hair. And I am in love with it, y'all. I'm just showing you all just how the curl pattern looks wet. And I will come back and show you a dry look in the morning. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, at the final look. I am so in love with this hair. Not only is it sleek and lustrous, but these curls are just bouncy and so natural looking. Like, as you all can see, it looks like it's coming from my own head, like growing from my own head. I mean, look at that. Look at those curls. You can't tell me nothing, okay? I'm definitely feeling myself. But if you all want to try this hair out, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I will give you all the information that you need in order to purchase this hair as well. But as always, beauty beads, it's been a pleasure, and I will see you all on the next video.